All right, good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and begin with the afternoon session. And this afternoon, we had let me say, yesterday evening, we had an exercise in here to simulate the different trials and tribulations one goes through if you're struggling with, amongst other things, substance abuse or mental health, and trying to restore your life by getting services and money from the bank and meeting with your probation officer and a bunch of various other things. So now we are going to have a summary of that event last night. And our two distinguished presenters are Deborah Jones-Poole and Rochion Gregg, who were here representing the team that conducted the exercise last evening. And we also have a panel here of people who participated, and I'm sure they were all turned away many times. And that would consist of Judge Karen Diaz, and she really got turned away a lot. I'm here to testify about that. Judge Selena Solis and Sean Edwards. And so I will let you go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Judge Carr. My maiden name is Carr, so I always share with him that he's my cousin. And so that's our little joke we have. But yes, we had an exciting experience last evening where we had individuals that came together to experience what we call, it was a condensed version of a reentry simulation. I just want to share with you a little bit about on-point reentry before I move into the explanation of the simulation. So on-point reentry is a nonprofit organization that works with it has a twofold mission. One is to provide training to the service providers that actually work with our populations. And then we also provide training, consulting, and coaching to the returning citizens that we service. And so we do a lot of outsourcing because we embody what we call our 4 C's, and that is communication, creative thinking, creativity, yes, and the largest one is collaboration. So we collaborate with lots of various agencies to make sure that we're able to have resources to refer our clientele to. And so anyway, each of our team members, and just raise your hand, team members, they're here. We have all been trained at the highest level at the Department of Justice to be able to provide reentry employment specialist training. And so we offer that as well. So training, consulting, and coaching is what on-point reentry is all about. So we're open for collaboration, certainly, if anyone would like to join with us. So just a little bit about the simulation. The goal of the simulation was to immerse the participants into a situation that would afford them to be able to experience the significant obstacles that people returning to the community face. And so what we did was we set up booths. There was a total of 15 booths for them to actually have to navigate. Now, each participant was given a scenario. And so that scenario was their guideline to help them move through the simulation. And they're going to share just a little bit about some of their feelings and experiences that happened during the process of moving through the simulation. The way it was conducted was they were actually given 5-minute intervals to move around the perimeters to visit the various stations. Now, each 5-minute interval actually represented 1 week. They were given name tags that had a colored dot on them. So what they didn't know was we had already prompted the individuals who were manning the booths to, if you had a green tag, you had to treat them really bad. If you had an orange tag, you had to treat them nice. So we kind of set it up that way, but they didn't know that. So they were moving through and they're wondering, why can't I get this? Why am I being treated like this? But it was, an interesting experience. So the ultimate goal of the simulation was to provide them with the experience of firsthand knowledge of what these individuals go through as they're trying to re-enter back into society. So I believe we have a short video to kind of share with you as to what was going on in the process. So over the course of this simulation, you're going to experience what we call a post-released life. So you've been given yellow folders. So what we want you to do is actually become this individual. From this point forward, your name will be whatever name is listed on the badge. After you've read your scenario, that will give you indication or directions on what it is that you will have to do.
I'm Dorothy, but I like to be called Dora because I don't look like a Dorothy. I just got released on parole and I have $225 to my name only from my trust account. And I went in for attempting to murder someone, a jerk, to say the least, who has sexually assaulted me. And I don't have a housing. I live in a halfway house at Helping Hands. I don't have transportation. I don't have a car. I don't have an ID. I don't have a social security. Oh, I can't remember my social security number. And I've got 3 weeks to get a job, pay my bills. Well, I really need, I need to at least show proof that I've applied for a birth certificate so I can go get my ID.
Right now we don't have it. There's no one here.
How's a girl supposed to get ahead in life? I don't understand. I have no clue. Can you help me?
I can help you. What do you need?
I need a lot of things. I have this. Okay, where am I? This is me, Dorothy. Okay, God, so much paperwork. What has happened? I mean, I wasn't in that long. There's always a line here. Everyone must want to be getting their ID right now. I'm having the worst day ever. No one's gonna hire me without an ID. I can't get an ID if I don't have a birth certificate. I can't get a birth certificate because I don't have an ID. Did you get a job without an ID?
I haven't got a job, but I got my ID.
How'd you get your ID?
You had that really nice lady down the street.
I did, and then she made me go like 3 other papers to sign.
My name is Blake, and I need to get a state ID.
Okay, great.
I have no transportation ticket because I have no job. I just got out of high school and jail. I am looking for a a job, either part-time or full-time.
Do you have a copy of your resume?
No, never had to have a resume for a welding job. Usually just show up on the job site, fill out an application for the employer. I just need to find out my probation schedule. So my name is Blake. I have 3 years of community corrections, and I need to do 1 year of community service. And then I have other fines and fees, but I'm going to have to see if I can get a payment plan for that. Oh, there's the unforeseen circumstances lady following me around.
Well, I need you to go to the grocery store. You need some household items.
Man, I just spent $40 at the grocery store.
You better have a transportation ticket.
I don't have a transportation ticket. That's why I'm at transportation, to try to get a transportation ticket. Do you have change, sir?
No.
No, no change. Got to have exact change. The dastardly banker. All right. Then I will be back, sir.
All right. Those were just a brief synopsis of what was going on during the simulation and some of the challenges that these individuals actually face. And so, as we took them through the debriefing session, it was, we wanted to actually see if we could identify any themes that was among them. We wanted them to be able to connect their experience with the real life context of what happens with these individuals as well. And so we did ask them what we call our follow-up questions. And so I'm going to ask them the follow-up questions, and they'll share their experiences with you. And then after that, you'll have an opportunity to question them as well. Okay? All right. So the first question was, what emotion did you experience during the simulation?
One thing that's important that I didn't mention about myself is I was playing a drug addict. And so every time I hit a roadblock, which was no, or, I couldn't, the most frustrating was trying to get my ID. And it really made me want to go get high. I wanted to give up. I wanted to, I'd just been released and I was on parole, and it was just, everything was so overwhelming and caused my anxiety to flare. And I just felt it was worth going and maybe using 5 of my $225 to go get a quick high.
Okay.
Which wouldn't solve anything other than I could just escape from the madness of the bureaucracy.
And Sean, would you like to share?
So I was just released from prison after 8 years. I was not on paper, didn't have to report to parole, had $800, but I didn't have an ID or anything to be able to get access to my money. So I was very angry. And then my basic need of just having food was my biggest issue for 3 weeks, to the point of, okay, I'll go back to selling dope and stealing cars to survive. I tried it for 3 weeks doing the right way, and I was so angry that was the options that I was looking at, the choices I was about to make.
All right. Okay, would you like to share?
Hello. So I was in prison for, I think, 29 years for a sexual assault and rape. Unfortunately, I had a yellow circle on my name tag, which meant nobody could help me. I could not get transportation to go get an ID. I couldn't get an ID because I didn't have transportation. All I wanted to do was go to court to pay my court fees to go to probation so that I didn't have to go back to prison again. I was college educated, a welder by trade. I had $4,000 when I came out of prison. But guess what? I offered somebody $1,000 for a transportation ticket. Nobody could help me. I went to the grocery store because all I wanted to do was feed my dog. I didn't even care about myself. But once again, I had to have a transportation ticket to get to the grocery store. So I told them my only mode of transportation when I came out of prison, had no family, had no housing, I had money, were my 2 feet. I walked everywhere, but that wasn't good enough. I had to have a transportation ticket. To even go to court, I had to have an ID. But the ID lady would not help me because I had a yellow tag, right? So I told them in the end, I felt, I guess, the prejudice of what someone with a criminal history would have, right? I didn't know, they didn't tell us ahead of time that if we had those color tags that they were going to treat us all differently. So I didn't know that until the very end, but then it made perfect sense that even the bank wouldn't give me change for $1,000 bill because I had a yellow tag, right? It wasn't because I committed sexual assault or because I'd been in prison. It was because I had that yellow tag, which I think some criminals think they have that tattooed across their foreheads, right? And so I really felt the prejudice. I really felt helpless, and there was nowhere that I could turn. I went to every table and got turned away from every table and was so frustrated. I, in real life, have 27 years sober from alcohol. And I'm telling you, when I left here last night, I had to go sit by the pool for a while to de-stress and think about taking a drink because of how this whole simulation made me feel.
All right.
So I can imagine how someone in real life feels when they come out and have to go through that process.
Thank you so much for that reflection. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Rochion Gregg.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah. And thank you to our panelists. Also, I want to dig a little bit deeper and ask some additional questions of our panel so you'll get a much deeper understanding of how the simulation went. I think that this is one of the best strategies to help professionals, not even just professionals, but individuals that are facing release from incarceration on how they, what obstacles that they may face. So if you haven't had an opportunity to participate in the simulation or you're interested in your agency hosting the simulation, please contact us. But my next question to the panel is, were there moments that you felt supported during the, or connected to others during the simulation? And you mentioned that you tried to bribe someone. Did you say buy or bribe? I wasn't sure. Some transportation tickets.
Yeah, I tried to do whatever I could to get some food.
Okay. So you were in desperation mode.
Pretty much survival.
What about did you all feel supported during your transition phase?
I felt absolutely no support from anybody. Thank God I had my little emotional support dog because she's the only thing that kept me on an even keel from, you try to use your charm and you try to use your finesse that you think you have, and we know that criminals can sometimes be master manipulators. So I was trying to be that manipulator with everybody I was talking to, being nice, being kind, thinking that would get me somewhere. It got me nowhere.
So I had an interesting experience or interaction with someone who was staffing the court station, and I don't know if she's here, but she's a commissioner and she's on the All Rise board. And even though she didn't give me what I needed, I failed. I wasn't able to complete my task with her. She was very empathetic, very kind. And it was almost like the kinder she became, my agitation increased, because it was hard for me to be mad at her, but I wasn't getting what I wanted. I mean, I was on a mission because my life depended on it, and I felt very desperate. But just her tone and her manner in which she spoke to me made me, like I said, I mean, it was frustrating because I didn't get what I wanted, but she didn't make me feel like a criminal or a failure.
Right.
And then when I went over to the DMV, Miss Lawson, I almost was like begging, like the feeling of begging, please, please, you don't understand. Like, I have to have this. If I don't have this, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I don't like to beg. It's very disempowering. But that's how desperate I was.
Yes. And we know that when individuals become desperate, they make bad choices. And so, although we may have to follow the rules, but there is always, or should always be, room to show some empathy towards these individuals that are going through. So hopefully this simulation showed how important that empathy can be. My next question is, what strategies or coping mechanism did you use to face these challenges?
So a couple of the scenarios I was in, I used bad behavior. I was rewarded with my bad behavior because I was a jerk enough and I broke the rules enough. Some of the same things that I learned in prison helped me out, and I was able to get my transportation code. Somebody accidentally dropped money on the ground. I stole a judge's car. So there was things that I learned with my bad behavior that I had to use to survive.
Right. The criminogenic thinking
I didn't
kicked
get arrested.
in. Criminogenic thinking and survival kicks in. And that can be determined if a person is going to make it or not make it. So I am now going to turn it back over to my colleague, Ms. Deborah, to finish, to ask him more detailed questions.
Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. How did this simulation compare to your expectations of reentry?
I mean, I guess I would say that, I was playing someone that I've worked with in my court, in my mental health court. And so what it did for me was, I'm definitely going, when I go back and we have court next time, and I advise, or, we come up with a game plan for what they have to do, I'm probably now going to share with them thoughts about, I know it's going to be, it can be frustrating. It's going to take time. Like, I want to give them words of wisdom to not lose faith, and to keep at it, and to not get discouraged by the waiting in line and the rejection, that it is doable. You just have to keep at it. So try to, I think, give them more of a understanding of the difficulty that awaits them, but not to be discouraged about it. So it's just adding more to it than just, what do you mean? I mean, how easy? You should go get your ID. What do you mean you don't have transportation? Like, who, I think, because, right, they say knowledge is power. And if they just know where to go and who to ask for bus passes, or who, if they know someone that they can talk to in a particular agency, it might make them have a better experience.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else want to comment on that question?
The really big part that I received from it is how important it is for us to have that navigator that individual to help educate and help individuals who are coming out of TDC or county jails on their walk through it, so they don't have to be alone and don't have to feel like that they've got to make poor choices to survive, to help get what they need for just more basic needs.
Okay, thank you.
So for me, I think it's going to make me be, even after 27 years in this profession, and I always thought that I had what I call compassionate justice in the courtroom, but that brought a whole nother level of compassion for me. I know what people have to do when they come out of jail. I know what they have to do, but having it all in the forefront and being told nothing but no, nothing but no, opened my eyes to how helpless they must feel. And like Sean just said, having that navigator now, my mission is to go back to my county and get some kind of diversion. I've been on the commission since its inception, but this has brought it even more to the forefront for me of what a great need it is. And like Judge Nelson always talks about rural counties, I'm in a, I guess, semi-rural county. We have less than 100,000. But just to have those resources, even a checklist, right? Like, I know I have to get my ID. I know I have to get there. I know I have to buy groceries. I know I have to live somewhere. I have to go to court. I have to go to probation. How overwhelming is that when you first come out? I mean, it's overwhelming me just talking about it. So even though I think and have compassion for people, I think now when you, as they say, walk a mile in their shoes, that A, I don't ever want to have to walk that by myself, and B, I'm going to try to make sure that those people that do have to walk that mile have the resources, the individuals that they can go to help walk them through those programs, and the information that they need to be able to be successful when they come out.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, at this time, it's time when you can participate. So I'm opening up the floor for questions of these individuals. If you would be so kind as to come to the mic if you have a question.
Well, I was one of the participants yesterday.
Okay.
The thing that actually surprised me the most was how selfish all of our participants were.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see really any of us trying to help the others.
That's true.
And I did the exact same thing. I've got money. She needs $5 so she can pay for a transportation ticket. I had $800. I could have given her the $5. More importantly, I had a transportation ticket I paid $1 for. I could have given it to her, but I didn't do it. And so that's one thing that I was surprised by, and appreciate participants in my mental health court, that whenever they come to court, we now do peer support, but before that, they sort of did their own peer support, giving each other ideas, information. One of my participants we'd given court bus passes to. She found other transportation. She gave her bus passes to somebody else in court who didn't have any. So I was surprised by how selfish we were.
Good
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
real good.
Thank you for your discussion so far. It's been interesting to hear about your experience in the immersion. I'm speaking from my history as a social worker. I worked in forensics as a forensic social worker, and I operated inside the jail, and my job was I specialized in helping folks who are coming out of jail to reinstate their benefits, to get ID, a lot of those basics that we all know are very hard to do. And so, but my experience there was I found that it was really helpful, and I'm from a small kind of rural town, so we all know a lot of each other, especially in the mental health field. But I would go to, say, Social Security, and I found that it was really helpful to learn who those people were who were working there. I still know the name of the supervisor there, John Spring, who helped me a lot. And not that he he's also, his hands were bound in many ways, but it helped that he knew who I was and what I was doing, and he understood my mission. And therefore, that was something I was able to kind of carry over to my clients as I brought them in as well. And so I just think that that's really an important part. I wonder also about for judges maybe in this case, or I'm not sure exactly who maybe would have the opportunity to do this, but maybe meeting with those folks, having a meeting with Social Security office in your area, with housing, with some of those folks, and maybe being able to create some sort of MOU or something between them that might be able to help, especially with the folks who are coming through your court, to help them get those things that they need that are really important. I think about hospitals. I often was able to get ID by going through their hospital record that could serve as some kind of proof of who they were. But I think about that too. So I was never in a position to be able to do that outside of my own experience of just kind of going and having these conversations one-on-one with these folks. But it would be so helpful, I think, to have someone who is in a position of certainly more status than I had, for instance, in my community, to be able to have those conversations on behalf of their clients, of the folks who are coming into their courtroom. So that's just a little thought I had on that.
So it's like having a fast pass at Disney. I
that
mean,
would be
like
amazing.
having someone on the inside that has established a rapport with a key person, and then that way, if people are coming in, they know, like they can expect the people what they need, and the people going in have someone instead of just going in cold turkey.
Exactly that. I think like a good example, and I'll not take up all of everyone else's time here, but I think you don't know what people are capable of doing or what their organizations are willing to do until you kind of explore those together. So as an example, with our local jail, when we had folks coming out, one of the things they were able to do was have a sheet of paper that had their name, date of birth, some basic identifiers, and a color picture that I got as the case manager, and then could take that and use that as an ID. And that helped so much. And that was a small thing that I have never heard anyone else doing that. I'm sure they probably are, I just don't know it, but things like that. So it doesn't have to be even the most official thing where they just get as you point out, a fast pass just to go on through all the lines, but someone helping a little bit along the line can make a huge difference. So that's my suggestion.
And I think that this is part of what the Judicial Commission does with their SIM mapping process. I know when we had one in our community, we had the hospitals, we had EMS, we had the jails, we had probation, we had judges from every walk. We had the LMHAs, we had psychologists, we had psychiatrists, we had mental health professionals, and they were all in the same room at the same time trying to develop a plan for our community that would work for all the participants. And that's kind of what you're talking about. I was the one that organized ours in our county, and it never occurred to me to have somebody from the driver's license office or the Social Security office or some things that I witnessed here from a bank to help them. You have to have a bank account to do anything these days. It never even occurred to me in my SIM mapping to invite those kind of people to come in. And now I'm going to go back to our SIM participants and say, listen, maybe we need to do this again and even broaden it more than what we did the first time.
Yeah, or you could have Intercept Zero only just for that beginning part and invite all those folks. I think also about landlords that are independent, or also the managers at different apartments who they know all these folks, and they often don't have any resources for how to handle them or help divert them.
Thank you.
I'll stop now, but thank you all.
Thank you.
Real quick, I just want to say thank you for what you were doing, and you would meet the definition for me as one of our navigators. If we want to change individuals' tactics from coming out of jail and coming back into the real world, we've got to change our tactics as well.
And this is our last.
Yeah, this will be our last question due to time, but please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I was one of the participants as well yesterday. And so I got the tote bag with all of the information in it. And it looks like y'all have resources for people looking for jobs and things like that. Is that Austin specific? Could I share it with my clients that are in other locations? Will those skills be something that might work in other jurisdictions, or would they need to be able to be working in Austin?
Absolutely, you can share our information. Our organization has been doing this for well over 15 years. So we have been all over the state and country, just all over the country doing this kind of work. So we've built relationships over the years. So we've worked with individuals that are being released all over, and we're able to, in most times, connect them with professionals in their area to assist them with services. I'd like to say that an overwhelming sentiment that we heard last night and this morning about the importance of collaborations, knowing the resources, not just knowing the resources, but building a relationship with the resources. We, as professionals, oftentimes specifically in this arena, we have to meet people where they are, and that may cause a call for us to think outside the box, which I'm so glad to hear that our panelists are willing to do the work and be an example. We talked about the Innocence Project last night. If you're not familiar with the Innocence Project, please Google it. It is created by Judge Sawyer out of Philadelphia. She's doing the Sentencing Act, I'm sorry. The Sentencing Foundation, I'm sorry about that. But she's doing some amazing work in diversion, and she is wanting to partner with judges across the country to help bring this program to their court. So I'd like to take the opportunity on behalf of On Point Reentry to thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for last night. We appreciate each and every one of you. Our website is here, and we have a table outside with more information. So again, we thank you, and we look forward to hearing about the great things and how you are going back to your community and change some things and know that one agency can't do everything. So the importance of collaboration is important. So I'm looking forward to seeing your next collaborations and hearing about and attending great summits like this to see what individuals are doing in their area. So keep up the great work, and we thank you for your participation.